Good morning, everyone. It's Phil Wade from Dalton Wade Real Estate Group. I'm here today with Amy. She's going to flip the camera and hey, and it's just the two of us here today. So Lisa, who usually joins us, is off on vacation in Italy. Lucky her. Hopefully, a bunch of folks are joining us via Periscope, and ultimately we'll get this posted up on YouTube. So when I sent out the email yesterday morning, I titled it the 4 Horsemen for Success, which are 4 kind of key components for any real estate agent to do to be successful in the business. But I debated whether I was going to title it that, and I also thought of titling it Running Scared. And what I mean by running scared is that everybody probably tuning in and who will be watching this video is a relatively new real estate professional. And running scared, you've really stepped into sort of a very entrepreneurial type of business. Being an entrepreneur is kind of all the rage today. But unfortunately, in the real estate entrepreneurial business, there's a very, very high failure rate. The failure rate, depending on who quotes it, but it can be 50% after the first year, and then up to 85% after 2 years. And kind of what that means is that folks that join ultimately don't succeed in the business, and really that kind of running scared mentality, so that you actually are one of the 15 or 20% that do make it and do have this become a career, is kind of one of the ways you need to be thinking about this. And that running scared really goes for any type of entrepreneurial endeavor, any type of startup business, which you're doing here. So really try to keep that in mind. And what does that mean? It really means bringing a level of intensity in focus in terms of what you're doing, and that's how that all ties back into sort of the four horsemen for success. The 4 horsemen, in my opinion, are warmer cold calling for listings, some level of internet leads, social media, and then your own sphere of influence. And how hard you attack those 4 items, and how hard you kind of run with that, will hopefully propel you into being, in that 15 to 20% of people that start in the business that become successful. So it's really bringing, I can't stress this enough, I see it as a broker, owner, in terms of people coming on board. We have these trainings, but yet they tend to go off and kind of do something else in terms of their time, or they're not asking the right questions, or you just kind of get the sense that they're just not bringing kind of the best practices to what they're doing with their time. So let's talk a little bit now about kind of the 4 things you need to do, and certainly there's other things, but these to me are kind of the critical things that you can do with not a ton of capital, just your time, and you want to get as good at them as you possibly can. Again, everybody's relatively new, their skills that do get people become better with it, as time goes on. But let's talk about, really what I think is the linchpin of it all is obtaining listings. So how do you do that when you're a new agent? Well, unfortunately, there's no really simple, easy answer. You might do some postcards. I personally am not a believer in those. I think they just end up in the trash. I don't think people keep them. And I think really who you need to be calling and talking to are people that actually are thinking about or trying to sell their house right now. And who is that? So that's for sale by owners. That's people that have had a listing expire or is withdrawn. And again, I think the intensity, and I'm going to use that word a lot today, the intensity around it is doing it. I mean, I talked to a veteran agent, it's been probably a month ago, and he kind of talked about it as well. He didn't do it, but he knew to do it, but he didn't actually do it consistently. But what we're talking about here is 2 hours a day. So, in your day, you need to allocate 2 hours of your time to calling. And no one wakes up saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do some calling, and I'm gonna love it." But it is an essential component of success. And let's again, I'm kind of a numbers guy, so let's take two hours a day. If there's 20 days in a month, that's 40 hours. If you call 10 people an hour, which is certainly accomplishable, you talk to 400 people potentially, or you left messages. And really, again, what you're looking for is 2 listings. So you need a 0.5% conversion. Now I know you're going to have talked and dialed 398 other people that you didn't get their listing, but it's that type of effort. It's not calling. I had someone at a training meeting. This is 6 months ago, and she said she tried this, didn't work for her. I said, "How many people did you call?" She called 20 people. She quit. So that's not what we're talking about here. If you're going to call 20 people and fade out, you're probably not going to get there. So it's that consistency. It's doing it daily, and it's continuing to do it until you build your real estate practice. From those listings, if you do them right and you have them, you'll run some open houses. You'll meet some buyers out of that. So kind of the listings and open houses go hand in hand. But again, it's the time, it's the effort. Where do you find the people to call? Craigslist, Zillow for sale by owner. The company, Dalton Wade, we have a subscription to RedX. All the expired and withdrawn listings are in there, and you can, get the phone numbers. You still have to call them. We have scripts. I'm glad to share those with everybody. I'm glad to do role playing with everybody, but it's really up to you to actually make the calls. So that's leg 1 of the 4 horsemen. Leg 2 is some level of internet lead generation, whether it's through your own website, whether it's through the company referring leads to you, you spending dollars if you have it in terms of either Zillow or Realtor.com leads. Certainly like Zillow leads, we think they're more productive, but some level of internet leads coming into you so that you can begin to get some buyer business going. Again, happy to talk with anybody about the company's Zillow lead program. Again, just my own sort of findings and what I see is if you're gonna do any of these, you need to do them well. I see sometimes folks getting the internet leads but not really following up with them as well as they should, as diligently as they should, as consistently as they should. And again, it's the same for listings, it's the same for internet leads. Really, you need to relate to people. You need to let people do the talking. Ask them, what their needs are, what they do. Try to begin to develop that relationship with them. People like to work with people they like. It's not a hard concept. So you've got to put yourself out there and try always to be bonding with people. And again, in terms of, we talked about a 0.5% on, the listing side. On internet leads, you're somewhere in the 3 to 4% conversion. So again, a lot of the folks you're gonna, they're not going to be ready. But how, get good at working internet leads. Get good at cold calling or warm calling. Those are the things. You're not, people come into real estate and they think, oh, I'm selling houses. I need to be good at selling houses. Yeah, you do need to be good at that. But you will never get to sell a house if you're not good at warm calling and you're not good at working internet leads. So that's leg 2. Leg 3 is social media. Social media, is a very, very powerful tool, if used correctly, and it actually ties back into the first, into your warm calling and into your internet lead generation. And what I mean by that, what is social media? What are we talking about there? Well, I'll tell you what it isn't. It isn't posting cute pictures on Facebook. what you're trying to do. You're a new agent and you're competing against existing agents. So as a new agent, what you're trying to communicate to the world is that you're good. And how do you do that? You do that by writing, by becoming a subject matter expert. There's tons of information, and again, part of your strategy could be, okay, I'm going to have my website and I'm going to do 2 blog posts a week that take me an hour each, and I'm going to focus on, the buy side, for instance. I'm going to write about, we did a training on last week on, kind of buyer do's and don'ts, or maybe that was 2 weeks ago, when getting the mortgage. Watch that video, rewrite what Phil said. We had a lender in there, summarize, and then post that as your blog. So that way on social media, if somebody's actually looking for a realtor, they say, wow, look at this. This is useful information. Just like I'm doing this training, I'm giving people, hopefully, useful information. You want to be doing the same thing. You're giving people to get back. You're giving people your knowledge. You're helping them through social media, by writing, by posting things that are relevant to buyers and sellers. And by doing that, you become the expert. And then, okay, well, how does that all tie back to, your listing, your seeking of listings and, your internet leads? Well, again, anybody that you're contacting that doesn't know you, which is going to end up being the majority of your business, they can go check you out online and see that you're a subject matter expert. You've written all this stuff. You're knowledgeable in the field. That all makes you look better, and it all kind of ties back to helping you. If you're working on an internet buyer, don't be surprised if they Google you. And if nothing comes up, it doesn't look so great. But if a lot of pertinent information for them in terms of, how, what the do's and don'ts for buyers, the home inspection process, what's a 203K loan, when does that, all different things that, again, make you look stronger as a real estate agent, and then, hopefully ups your conversion in terms of, people wanting to work with you. And then the last piece, so that's social media. Again, this is all very top level, and, always the devil is in the detail. You have to kind of do it and then actually step back and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, how I'm going to approach this. It's an ongoing thing. It's not, again, we talked about being an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneurial real estate person. That's why many times people come into this business. Hopefully you're in it for, at least several months, and you build on, what you're doing. It's hardest in the beginning, but as time goes on, more good things happen. You begin to have more content out there. You begin to know more people know you as a realtor. You start to get referrals, and it all starts to go in the right direction, meaning more business. And then the last piece is, your sphere of influence. People in your sphere of influence, I like to think as relative. So it's social media is online. Your sphere of influence is offline. So these are people that you meet. These are people that you either already know or you're getting to know. I was standing at a rent-a-car this week. I'm standing in the line. I'm talking to the lady. I strike up a conversation. I look terrible. I'm in my gym clothes. And then she says, oh, well, what do you do? And bang, I told her what I did, and I gave her my card. So now that's your sphere of influence. Now, is that lady going to ever call me to buy something? Maybe. You don't know. But if you didn't have your card with you, you couldn't have done that. So again, it's people family members, friends, relatives, and again, more importantly, people. Sometimes you'll see realtors. I don't wear a pin, but sometimes you'll see people that are in the biz. And they've got a pin, their name and their company name. And I know there's people here at Dalton Wade who wear the pins. There's a reason why people wear pins. It's like a billboard on your shirt. When you're out there at Starbucks and you're in line, and it's a conversation piece, and that person that's behind you might strike up that conversation with you because you have your pin on, and all of a sudden that's becomes a transaction for you. And again, so that's kind of the fourth piece, which is your sphere of influence. And again, I'm going to try to kind of wrap this all up nice and neat. What are you trying to do? You know, you're trying to do X number of transactions a month so that you're able to have a nice income, nice living. You know, what's a reasonable goal? A reasonable goal on average is 2 transactions a month. You know, maybe somebody else, you know, it might be 1, but somewhere between 1 and 2. So let's just use the 2 because that's obviously more. That's 24 transactions a year. Okay, so you're gonna, where are they coming from? How am I getting those over the next year? I'm starting with what I want, and I'm working. And you say, okay, through, you know, my warm cold calling, I'm going to get 8 transactions. I'm going to also get 4 on top of that from doing open houses on my listing. So my listing efforts are going to generate 12. Then I'm going to get another 8 from internet buyer leads, either from purchasing them or having somebody refer them to me. So now I'm up to 20. I'm going to get 2 from social media, and I'm going to get 2 from my sphere of influence. There's your 24 deals, or some combination of that. But I encourage everybody, think of it like that. Think of it in terms of like where you want to end up. And I know sometimes when you're down in the trenches, you know, it's hard to do that, and you can lose. But really, again, it's the number one thing I find with new realtors would be that they don't put in the effort. They don't have that focused sort of ability. They don't have as much confidence as they need. You know more than you think, and you have to execute. You have to break your day down into, you know, chunks of time of what I'm going to do. You know, 2 hours we talked about in terms of, you know, warm cold calling. You know, maybe you spend another hour to an hour and a half a day writing. You know, to post on social media. You know, you're going to hopefully be out there spending some time showing properties, and then, you know, you're working your sphere of influence. So, as always, I'm available for, you know, any type of follow-up. I don't know if anybody has any questions on Periscope. We'll open it up right now. And okay, no one has any questions, so I'm available offline to chat further about this, and thanks for tuning in.